I'm Dr. Melody Chong, a podiatrist. I treat ankle, foot, and some leg issues. And I'm located at 3838 California Street. And I've been in practice over 25 years. So another common condition is that of heel pain. And you're probably wondering when this happens, and it's usually in very active people and those with high arches and flat arches or flat feet, which we just talked about. And it usually occurs in the morning when one gets up and stands up from getting out of bed and or after you're resting, sitting down for a while. And often it occurs at the end of the day when you're on your feet all day. And so what are some of the causes of this? It's usually inflamed tendons under the feet, also inflamed bursa or different tissues in the heel. Often the nerves can get trapped in the heel. Some other conditions are being overweight. The fat pad or fat beneath the foot can also thin out as you get older. Also, poor foot structure and a misalignment of the way you walk, and just genetics, what you're born with, what your parents had. So those are the common causes of the heel pain related to flat feet, and again, high arches as well.
This is showing an x-ray of a normal heel. This is showing an x-ray with a bone spur. Sometimes a bone spur can cause heel pain, but it's usually just the tissue underneath the foot that's causing the irritation on the bottom of the feet, the flat feet, or the high arch feet, and also at the heel.
Some of the common treatments include wearing correct shoes, padding in the heel and or the arches. Sometimes I give shots, cortisone, to the heel. I often prescribe pain medications. I give a handout on stretching, applying ice and heat, and sometimes contrast baths. Also, I will sometimes tape the foot, and I usually start out recommending inserts from the store. However, if none of these things work, then I do recommend the custom inserts or orthotics because they help with the pore structure and mechanics. Usually surgery is left to the very end if nothing else helps, if any of the conservative treatments I just talked about don't help. So that's heel pain in relationship to low arches or flat feet. Please click over here to watch the next video on foot care. Do you have a solution for your foot problems? Comment on this video and please let me know. Thank you.